All right, so here we go. Uh, the inside of the hood is blue. I don't know. You can't see that probably, but got some oxidation in there. Um, they did paint the wheel wells the right color. Triple Webers, but with the wrong air cleaner. Kind of wonky fuel lines. Doesn't look like it's got a fuel filter. Have changed the oil filter. Chassis tag and paint tag. There's the chassis tag. Paint tag. Where's that? Right down there. It says the car used to be white. I was at first alarmed by that plumbing fitting there on the EGR valve, but that apparently is something that people do. It's got a single distributor, which I think sounds like that's a GM distributor that's been adapted to be a V6 distributor. You can see all the rat's nest of wires heading over here to where the battery is. I've disconnected the battery. Here up front you can see one pair of horns. There's no horns in the other side. I haven't been up inside there yet, but there's some bolts missing and things like that. We've got this hose that wasn't connected to anything. A couple of wiring things that we haven't figured out what they belong to. More wiring going across the front towards the fans. I don't know if those fans are working. What else we got here? This shaft, jack shaft is a little bit warped. Head over this direction. We've got, I'm not sure what kind of a radiator hose that is, but it doesn't look like the OEM hoses that I've seen in other people's pictures. From what I understand, the hoses last a long time. That other section of hose, of course, doesn't look to be OEM as well. Should be I don't know if that's the side that should have the LHM bottle or the wiper washer fluid. That side over there had washer fluid. There's not a whole lot in that coolant tank, so I'm not sure how much coolant is in the car. The LHM can isn't full, but it's not empty either. I don't know if you can see it down there. Yeah. So the level's just on the low side. And I'm not sure yet if you're supposed to only measure that when it's running or not. Just headed back here. Got our oil cooler there. There's no horns up in that side. There should be a pair of air horns. There's a panel down there that's no longer connected. It's got a bunch of relays in it. We had some disconnected hoses just in here. These are apparently return hoses for the hydraulic system. They all meet back up in there and then head back over to the tank. It was pointed out to me by Tyler that the steering shaft may be a little too short. It's kind of pulling out. Gotta look into that. We'll go over here and take a look. So there should be an access panel there that covers all that up. It's not present in this car. So what you can see through there is the back of the oil cooler, and then the mechanism for the suspension. It's some of these gaskets look like they might be perished. I don't know yet. I'm gonna go through all that. It is kind of cool. You can see it's on one stop here, and then there's another stop up in there. So when there must be a high and a low limiter in there. It's got these two trailing arm dealies on bearings inside there. The CV joint, the axle on the inside is all messed up. Boot is loose, and the outer side is pretty gross as well. So lots and lots of stuff to clean there. Heading over this direction, I can have an initial look at some of the rust inside this door jamb. That's kind of, it's going to be a problem. And then the bottom of that door is a little crusty along there. We'll get to the interior later. Up underneath here, kind of where I've got the car jacked, there's some crusty stuff that's going to have to be replaced. And then that, it's all messy, but it doesn't look too bad. We go over towards the trunk. So that was the first surprise that I found. Then, second surprise. So that is on the other side of this, there's a muffler hanger, and it must, because it's kind of all rusted on both sides, I think that might have been a problem. I don't know if it's common to all of them. On the inside, you can see there's a side marker light they covered up on both sides. That was probably a US car thing. I took all the trunk carpeting out to clean because it was kind of moldy and gross. This is kind of interesting. There's this lever here that operates something back there, and I'm not sure what that's all about quite yet. What I did do is I removed the fuel tank, and down inside the fuel tank I drained the bad gas, which is super stinky, and got all that out. I'm gonna wait for it to dry and then suck out all the crusties. There's flakes in there. It kind of looks like they, I don't know, filled it on a coral reef or something like that. That's the filler hose. Other side, really cool stainless exhaust. That's kind of a positive. There is what they did with the fuel pump. Not really sure what where that came from or why they did it that way, but it is what it is. We'll be replacing the fuel pump, and then the fuel line runs up along here and all the way along the bottom of that rail by the door. Unfortunately, you can see it's a little crusty in here, and I probably have to replace some metal there as well underneath. Alright, so this quarter panel is about 5 feet 6 inches long, which is pretty cool actually. It's a big, long car, especially when compared to something little like that. Another thing that has to happen is up inside, you can see all that fabric that was used is toast. So I gotta find another fabric that I can use to replace all that. But the glass, I mean, it's kind of musty and stuff, but it looks like it's gonna be resolved. In terms of the seats, they seem to be okay. They're not terrible. They're very dry, so we got to get in there and dry them out. The interior still smells extremely musty. But I think when we get the carpets out and clean them and get the seats all clean and everything, that'll help quite a bit. Some mouse turds. Automatic transmission. I think the console's going to clean up okay. Big old crack in the dash. I got one quote for that so far, but I might wind up trying to do it myself. I don't know. Very prominent though. And these are pretty neat. Little door pockets I love. Very cool. And back to the front. Oh yeah, we'll look at this here quick. This corner, just as gross, if not a little worse than the other one. So we're gonna start trying to steam clean all that stuff off and see exactly what's leaking. It also had a boot there that's looking pretty rough, and then another boot there on the outside that looks rough. We're gonna deal with that. All right, that's it for now.